Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another podcast. Thank you again for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe on our www.flippingthebarrel.com website if you want to stay in touch and follow everything that we're doing on our LinkedIn page. Again, Flipping the Barrel on LinkedIn. So let's get into today's episode. We're very excited because we haven't had someone with this kind of background and story of running his family's business for all of these years. So it's going to be a very different perspective, and we're very excited to get straight into it. So our guest today is Grant Pruitt. He is the president and CEO of his family's business since 2012, after Pruitt Tool and Supply Co. in Fort Smith got its start back in 1958. Since 1958, Pruitt has provided quality equipment for the oil and gas industry, with their service-first approach being the foundation of their success. Hi, Grant. How are you? Thank you so much for being here today.
Hey, I am glad to be here. Such an honor. Thank you all for inviting me.
Well, Grant, before we started this podcast, you and I were just chatting about your family business and really how your grandfather came over, moved to Arkansas, moved his family, all because two customers told him, hey, you know what, I'll give you your business if you do that. And that was back in 1958. And then, you watched your father go through this business, and you watched him as a young boy, coming home with dirt on his boots. And you're just like, man, what are you doing, Dad? Like, this is really interesting. I want to learn more. And then you really found out more about the business and really what it was to work for Pruitt. What was life like growing up in that kind of, environment, a very family oriented, surrounded with your grandfather and your father and seeing them work hard? And did you ever think that, you would run the business one day?
Well, I will say this. I used to go to work with my dad. I used to go run rigs with him. He'd go drop off equipment, service, and just maintain that customer relationship. And every once in a while, I'd go and work with him. And just there was something about it that I loved. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what he did. I mean, I was 4 or 5 years old, right? So it was something. There was something fun about it, like just going out to these rigs and talking to these people. Just a whole different life that I didn't know about, that I watched my dad doing. So it's pretty interesting. And then, honestly, I went to college. I got a degree in small business management, entrepreneurship, but I had no idea what I wanted to do. So when I graduated from college, I was going to go into real estate, get my license and all that kind of stuff. But I was also about to get married too. So it was like, okay, I could either move home, just start from the ground up and learn about the family business, or, try to do the real estate deal. So I ended up obviously moving home and started working for the family business in 2001. And at that point in time, we had maybe 15 employees. We were just a little mom and pop company, but little did I know, here we are, 20 plus years later, and we've had a lot of success and a lot of been in the right place at the right time, and got some great people that help us. So.
Did you ever think, though, as a young boy, seeing that, your family had this business and it was successful, like that you would need to go to college? Because, if you look at some people that grow up with a family business, they might have aspirations that are different than their family, or maybe they feel that because of the success of the family business, why do I need to go to school? I'll just go work for the family, but you actually ended up going to college. So, what can you talk a little bit about, what gave you that drive and, how that impacted you?
Sure. Yeah. So, growing up, we lived in a cul-de-sac, and all we did was play sports. Like, I always had a ball in my hand of some sort, being baseball or football or basketball. I was always playing sports, and just had a true love for anything that had to do with sports. And so as I progressed, as I got older, I started having some success playing football in high school, and ended up going to college actually to play football. So that was kind of my lead in. I would have gone to college anyway. It was just one of the things that I felt like I needed to do. But I guess what kind of gave me the drive and the discipline and just the ability to persevere through stuff was just what I learned through athletics. To me, athletics has been such a great life teacher. It teaches you how to succeed, but it also teaches you how to fail, which is a huge thing for life lessons, right? I mean, if everybody's going to fail at some point. So it's how we take that and what we do with that makes us better. So.
Can you talk to us a little bit about what it was like working one with your father, which could be difficult depending on the dynamic, but with working what seemed like 50% or more of the rest of the 15 employees were family members, right? So,
Yeah.
they always say, don't go into business with your family, don't lend your family money. There's so many rules around working with family. Tell us a little bit about that dynamic, and it must have been hard or easy.
I tell you what, the family business, it's difficult. Like it is a very difficult thing. And when I first started, my dad was kind of, he would do some training. I would literally, our office that we had was probably about the size of my office right now, which is like 12 by 10. But we had 3 people in there, and I would literally, like, how I learned the most is my dad would be on the phone talking to a customer or client, and I would literally just pick up the phone and listen to their conversation, because just to understand like the wording and all that kind of stuff, like the lingo that they would use. And so that was really, I was so green and knew absolutely nothing about the oil field. It was so much fun, like the information that I was learning and just the technology that I was learning. And it was just so interesting. But working with my dad, he was actually good. Like it was actually a very good relationship, because he was not a micromanager at all. He kind of just said, okay, he made me start at the bottom and kind of figure it out for myself, which was, looking back on it, it was so much fun. Like those are some of the most fun days that I've had working in this business, is just learning stuff from the ground up and learning all the different aspects of what we do. So he was a good mentor when it came to that. Like he just kind of gave me the freedom to jump in and get dirty. And that's exactly what I did. So.
Since the business has started, y'all have become even more successful. And you mentioned that some of that has to do with some of the key people that y'all selected to help, run the company. Can you talk about how crucial it is to find the right partners, and really how you were able to do that, especially, being new to the family business? You thought you were going to go to real estate, but then you ended up taking on this. And so it's not like you had this wealth of knowledge and run and work for other businesses. This has been the only actual corporation, that you'd work for. So can you talk about, how you were able to define what a good hire would have been for the business?
Yeah. So we went through a lot of trial and error, I think that's probably the best way to say it, but you're right. And when you talk about people and you talk about success, like that is why we are successful, without question. I was sitting in on a meeting a couple of days ago, and just watching the meeting be run. And we got a huge international project coming up, and there's a lot of moving pieces and parts, and just sitting in that room with those 15 or, probably 15 to 20 people, knowing where we came from or where we were 21 years ago, and then watching the people that were in that meeting, it's just amazing. It's truly amazing how much the people we have enable us to do what we can do. It's truly amazing. And so filtering through that has been a major learning process. And we've made some really, really brilliant hires, and we've made some really bad hires, but it's all kind of part of the process and the story. And we're better because of our people, without question. So,
is there a certain quality that you found in those that were the successful ones that maybe you didn't see until they started, and you were like, okay, yeah, this makes a good employee for Pruitt?
Yeah. So culture is a big thing for us. We truly, we can have the smartest people, but if they don't fit into our culture, it's almost a cancer for us as a company. And so I think that that's probably been the most difficult thing, is knowing that, having people that come in and just don't fit the culture. And one of the things that I really, truly love about getting new people in is finding the people that truly have passion, and then enabling them to do what they're capable of. Give them the freedom to do what they're capable of. That's a huge thing, and it allows people to kind of take ownership in what they do, and it allows them to feel like they're a part of something bigger than just getting a paycheck every week. So it's been a great learning process for a lot of people in our business.
So let's talk a little bit about the oil and gas, which is very cyclical business. I'm very curious to see how you guys handled that as a family business, because it would suck to have to fire, a sister or a brother or lay, family members off. But you did mention when we spoke to you that your father said, "I really hope y'all experience a really bad downturn." Those are some of his words. And after 2015 and after 2020, you actually said that he was right all along, and that you can learn a lot from those. Can you elaborate a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So for literally the first 14 or 15 years of running this business, it was just kind of a gradual climb. And when we grew and grew, and it was almost like there's no negative. So we were just kept, growing as a company. And then when 2015 hit, it was like, what the heck's going on? Like it changed everything. And we had to scale back considerably. I mean, we had to let go of probably around 50% of our employees, and probably could have been more aggressive than that. Probably could have let go of about 70%, but we knew at some point the tide would turn and things would start to recover. Mm-hmm. So, the thought was to keep as many people as we possibly could, so that when things do turn, it won't be such a learning gap in there with our people. And then, so yeah, I mean, that was a rough one, but really the most difficult time that we've had was once COVID hit. I mean, it was, I'll never forget, I was in Houston, the day that getting ready to go to a meeting, when oil hit negative $40 a barrel or whatever it was. And I just picked up the phone and I was like, this changes everything. Like everything is changing at this point. And so I picked up the phone. I called the people I was meeting with. I said, "Hey, if you hadn't looked at the price of oil, you need to. I'm going to get on a plane and going back to Fort Smith to do some damage control. Not like I could really do anything about it anyway, but it was just a time that it was a scary time, and everybody in the industry was going, how do we make it through this? Luckily, we have very, very little debt in our business, so which saved us. I mean, it was a scary time for everybody. It was a very scary time, but it's made us better. My dad was right when he said, what you need is to go through a downturn. Like, yeah, I remember hearing him say that and be like, why in the world would you even say that? But I mean, it's definitely made us stronger as a company. It's refined us to be better. And that's kind of where we are today. So.
A lot of people, when they are working for the family business, or even when they become CEO of what is the family business, and although you might have family members within the business, you also have people that are not part of the family. Did you ever receive, backlash or, anybody that was kind of just like, well, you got this job because of your dad, and like, how did you deal with kind of that perception of, you being CEO just because of who you are versus that you earned it? And did you ever feel that throughout your development of rising up in the company? And what would you say to those people who might be experiencing that whenever they actually do deserve the role? And maybe your advice is not just for those who are working in a family business, but those in general who feel that they deserve a role, and maybe others think that not so much, just because maybe they were in, or they had some sort of, connection.
Well, so I guess go back to the first part of the question. Do I feel, I'm sure with the people that my dad had hired when I first came in, I'm sure there was talk, and I'd hear little bits and pieces, but I will say this, and this is the honest truth. When I came to work, my dad paid me $8.25 an hour with a college degree, and made me rebuild rotating heads. And basically literally start at the bottom. I would go home every day and I would throw my clothes in the washer. I would be so dirty that the oil and grease and stuff would just line the inside of our washer. And my wife hated it because it got oil and grease on everything that we had. So, but it was, so do I think I deserve it's been a journey. I can say that. I don't know if do I deserve it? I don't know, but I do know that I love this job. I'm very passionate about it. I'm passionate about the people that we have. I'm passionate about, I think more than anything, I'm just passionate about being excellent at what we do. Mm-hmm. And that is, and that comes with accepting the fact that we're not a multi-billion-dollar corporation. We're never going to be the biggest managed pressure drilling provider out there. Like we're just not going to be that company. but what we can do is we can be excellent at what we do. And so that's kind of been my focus, and just the mentality that we have is not trying to compete with what we can't be, but being excellent at what we can be. So that's kind of been that's kind of the approach that we take. So I kind of went off on a tangent there, but
no, that's perfect. I know I love that. And it shows that your passion is really what drives you. And at the end of the day, that's what matters. It doesn't matter what other people think, but it's how you feel about the company and what direction you're taking it.
Yeah. And like I said, it's been a journey. It's been so much fun. And there's been blood, sweat, and tears involved. And I say that literally, like, but it's, it has been so fun watching a family business that, that has my last name be successful. I take a lot of pride in that, and hopefully it shows.
We love that. And I think it's almost rare nowadays to still find a family business, because a lot of them sell when they want to get out during hard times, and what's been nice is that you guys have kept it, and you can still control that culture, because then you sell it to a major or to a bigger company. And then that, everything your grandfather cultivated to be a family business just, disappears in a second once you sell. So that's really impressive that you guys are still running.
Yeah, it's one of those things. We've had offers to sell. I mean, we've had offers, and things just didn't work out. But I believe that, there's a reason that we're here and doing what we do. I think there's definitely a need in the market for a company that is kind of a niche company, that is really good at what they do. And I think that's that little niche area that we feel. So.
Yeah, I love it. So what has been the biggest failure looking back on your almost, I believe, 10 plus years now of being CEO and president of the company, I think since 2011, so about 10 years, that you can look back and there's one moment that you can think of that was, in your point of view, one of the biggest failures? How did you recover from it? And what can you give advice to those going through something similar, where you feel like it was the biggest mistake ever, but looking back, it's probably made you a lot better?
Yeah, so I think maybe there's probably a couple of things, but I think the first thing that kind of jumps out at me is we went through a big, we tried to expand internationally way too early before we were really ready. And, I was part of that campaign, and part of that, traveling, going to meetings and trying to sell what we do to people. And we just weren't ready as a company. But I think it took me seeing that we weren't ready for a company, weren't ready for that part of the international business. It took me being there and seeing that and talking to these clients for me to be able to realize, hey, we aren't ready for this. Like, we've got some refining to do as a company, and we've got to sharpen our the task at hand. We got to get better at what we do. And so that was kind of, wasn't really a failure. It was just a realization that we have a lot of room to improve. And so I don't see it as a failure. I just see it as a learning opportunity, which, success or failures are the best learning opportunities for me, and just historically. So, but it took me seeing that to realize that we weren't ready, and we have a lot of work to do. And so that's where we are now. So,
when we were looking at your LinkedIn, I saw this quote, and I wanted to ask you, what it meant to you. And it says, "We have two lives, and the second begins when we realize we only have one." You had it as kind of one of your defining characteristics. And I was just, what drives you to feel like, what do you feel when you read that quote? Because, having the success that you've had in the business, and, it all also stems back to family. And do you feel that was kind of where it was coming from, was like making sure you give it your all for your company, but then also for your family, and, you only have this one life?
Yeah. So I think maybe it's personal to me, because I think that there was a time in my life where I was just so busy doing so many things that I was just not able to really be present in the moment. And I think that, through some personal struggles and circumstances, that, it just hits me every once in a while that being able to be present and being able to be there in your business, or being able to be present with your family, that's really what it's all about to me. And we get so busy I get so busy that I lose focus of that sometimes. And when I lose focus of that, it kind of gets me off track. But realigning with that, today is a gift. That's why they call it the present, right? It's a gift. And so keeping that on the forefront of everything that I do and how I approach my relationships with people, how I approach my business relationships, I've got one opportunity in this life to do things and just to try to be a better person. I think that's what it boils down to. So just trying to be a better person every day. Sometimes I succeed, sometimes I fail, but and I think that goes for all of us, right? But just trying to be better and do better as an individual, and being present. I think that's really what it means to me. So
I love that. I think especially now with how much we have going on and multitasking and being on our phones and on Teams and working, and we lose sight of being present, and we just kind of go through life kind of like on Navigator,
Yeah.
So I love that. And the last question that we have for you is, what is the biggest piece of advice that you've been given by, could be a mentor, could be a family member, a client, that really helped you shape who you are as a leader today to run this business, that you can think of in the last 10 years?
Wow. I don't know if it's in the last 10 years, but I think I keep going back to my athletics, what I learned and through athletics. Through my high school coach, his name was Barry Lunny Sr. He was one of those guys that just impacted my life in a positive way, and just not just, and it wasn't about football. It was just about trying to be better and not giving up. And then one of my college coach, his name was Houston Nutt. And he was one of those guys that just figured out a way to bring the best out of everybody on the field. And I think that those two people probably affected me in a way that, there's a lot of things that I'm not good at, but I feel like one of the things where I excel. Hey, there's a dog. One of the ways that I feel like I excel, and it's been a process, is just learning how to let people be themselves and bring the best out of them. And that, to me, that is once I learned that I have a gift for that, it kind of changed my approach to how I deal with people in general. And it's very satisfying to me to see people succeed. It just brings me happiness. Like, it truly does. Like, watching people get better and excel at something. It's really a beautiful thing for me to watch and witness. So.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, Grant.
Sure.
Like this, I just, I can really tell your passion, just not just about your company, but, your just overall being in this industry. And so we're just really happy that you came on and shared this with us. And it's really amazing what y'all been able to do and accomplish. And so we're really excited to follow your journey as it continues. So thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. It's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed chatting with you all. And, thanks for the opportunity to just let me share my story. It's one of those things. It's not a beautiful oil and gas story, but it is a story, and it's very interesting, right? I mean, it's a rare thing that there's a third generation family owned business, anything in the oil and gas today. So yeah, I'm grateful to be a part of it. So thank you for allowing me.
Thank you, Grant.
Sure.
Thank you, Grant.
All right.